Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final guide of Season 4's Mythic Plus guides for Shadowlands. Today we're going to finish off with Iron Docks. Now, this one has been heavily nerfed since the launch of Season 4, so a lot of the things that would have been covered a few weeks ago are no longer the case. There's a lot of bugs that have been fixed, but there is one specific mechanic in here that I really think should get nerfed still. If you guys know what that is, that would be the bleed from from the foot soldiers in this area. It is quite ridiculous how much damage it does on a fortified week. Even on a tyrannical week, it's pretty bad. So without further ado, let's go into the last dungeon for this series. And please let me know what other videos you would like to see before the release of Dragonflight, because I definitely will be doing the dungeon guides for Dragonflight, but that is still a few months away, so I need some ideas, guys. Hit me up, help me out, give it a like, give it a comment, subscribe to the channel, you know what it is. We're going to jump right in. Today we're going to look at my Demon Hunter on a 17 2-chest Iron Docks that we did yesterday. Now, I'm by no means a Demon Hunter main. I know the bare bones of it, and I know how to play it, you know, at an optimal level. But, yeah, I'm definitely a DK main through and through. I just dabble in all the other tanks just to, you know, keep up with everything. But, let's go straight into it. Let's have a look. So, I'm just waiting for the... Oh, I'm going to make sure that is muted. So, we're going to start off here. I'm going to pick Haste. I'm going to jump into here. Now, again, this is all a very basic route. This has by no means is the perfect route to play Iron Docks with. If you guys want a more advanced route for the higher keys, let's say anything above like a 22, maybe 20s to 25s, 20s to 28s, let me know. And I will do that for like a quick TLDR, but just mostly the route, because the people watching that should kind of know what everything does at this point. So we're going to do a big pull here. Now you've got a bunch of mobs. You've got Incinerators, Foot Soldiers, Gromcar the Battlemaster, and then Deadeyes and your standard Infiltrator. Infiltrators are going to do their frontal and their sleep puddle as per usual. And now we're going to look at everything else. Foot Soldiers are the ones that I did explain before, do that bleed. They charge to a player, mostly the ranged, and they're going to apply a bleed. If two of them charge the same person, it gets really rough to heal. Now the Deadeye is just going to randomly do shots, Iron Shot. Incinerator is going to randomly shoot people as well. And then you're going to see that we've got two of them in here. We've got the Battlemaster as well, who's one of the mini bosses in the area. You just want to make sure that you're dodging most of the mechanics down on the floor here. He's going to do a Blade Storm. You just need to make sure you're not in it. Very simple. The only things you can't dodge are the Incinerators and the Deadeyes. They're just going to be shooting. So this is a very, I don't know, it's a pretty easy pull. The main mob that you should be killing here is definitely the Foot Soldiers on any difficulty, because you don't want two of them going off at the same time, especially on the same person, like I stated before. So as long as you nuke down one of them, having one up should not be much of an issue, but because there's a lot of mobs, a lot of packs in this area with two Foot Soldiers in the same group, you definitely want to make sure you're focusing on one. So we've got the Incinerator. I somehow pull all of this. I'm not sure how that happened, but this should definitely be separated into two pulls. We've got the same kind of mobs in here. The only difference now is we've got Technicians as well. Now these guys are going to put down. We've got two mini bosses as well as the Infiltrator mini boss, and Technicians as well included. Now the problem with this is there's a lot going on, like a lot going on. You've got some of them putting burning arrows down, which is going to be the champion Druma. You just got to make sure you dodge the circles. It's pretty much the exact same mechanic that's going to happen in the first boss, which is Fleshrender. The rest of the stuff is very self-explanatory because we just covered it in the pull previously. Now the only other stuff is just standard tank damage. Make sure you're not facing mobs towards the players. Make sure you're always facing away from everyone else, and everyone else make sure you're always behind the mobs. Very standard gameplay, as you should know as a DPS player and a tank player. regardless of if they actually do a frontal. It's just good to get into that mentality and that understanding. Again, the mini-boss from the Infiltrator does that massive circle on the ground. If you get hit by the purple circle, you do take a massive chunk of damage and a huge healing debuff. You also have to make sure you break the shield in order to interrupt the blood siphon. But pretty much after that, it's okay. After you kill a few of these mobs, it's alright. The pool's not too bad. There is another route, where you just shroud all of this coming up to Zul'Gurmux, and then you pull Zul'Gurmux and Lust on a higher fortified, which is probably the play. But this is only a 17, so it's not too difficult, and we can afford to, you know, pull a little bit bigger and use Lust on the first pull instead of this pull. So now we got an Infiltrator here and a Technician. I'm gonna grab all of these mobs. Now this, in any scenario except for right now, because I know my group is good enough for this, is a no-go. You've got 3 foot soldiers in here, and that is almost 100% gonna one-shot one of the ranged. And you can probably see in a few seconds, that is exactly what's gonna happen. So again, we've got Technicians, we've got foot soldiers, Deadeyes, and you've got the Pit Warden Gwarnock. Now again, the Pit Warden's gonna do the same thing. Blade Storm, and then also it's gonna do a chain pull, so it'll just pull people in. I'm pretty sure it's this one anyway. The Deadeyes again gonna do the same thing. As you can see, our healer got 2 of the bleeds on them, and the healer just ended up ticking down and dying. Besides that though, the foot soldiers don't do anything. It's just they charge and they bleed. There are things that you can do, right? So with the foot soldiers, you want to bait them with the ranged. Now, if you are a hunter, you are very, very important in this scenario, because you can just put a frost trap in front of the ranged, and when the foot soldiers run into the frost trap while they're charging to the range, they'll just stop and it won't do the bleed. So that's a little trick that you can do. You can also have any type of, you know, ring of pieces from monks to be in between the ranged and the actual mobs. You can use an Ursol's Vortex from a druid, and there's plenty of other things you can do. Like you can root them, you can death grip them away as they're running. Obviously, as long as the further away the range is, the easier it is to time that death grip. Yada yada yada. You understand what I'm trying to say. So there's the Blade Storm, just don't be in it. It really does hurt at a higher fortified. You will probably die within 2 or 3 ticks. So as a melee, just be careful. There's the Chain Drag I was talking about before, so it is the right mob. Thank God. I am remembering. Alrighty. Now it does the cast called Brutal Inspiration. I'm pretty sure that enrages it. And now the boss gets pulled. Now this boss has a mechanic where it starts getting a little bit iffy, and melee tend to die very, very quickly when this happens. So you want to get Dreadfang. Start with Dreadfang, and you'll get Dreadfang down to 50%. Once you get to 50%, the boss will come off, which is Fleshrender, and immediately Dreadfang will do that ability, which is going to pick a position and it's just going to charge forward. Now, before the nerfs, that would one-shot someone. Now, afterwards, it's not that bad, but still, you just want to be very, very careful and paying attention to where the dog is facing and just move out immediately. You don't have much time to do it, but you just want to be moving out straight away. So, what you're going to do now is dodge the swirls on the ground, which is going to be the burning arrows. And you want to focus on killing Dreadfang as soon as possible, because you just want to not have to deal with the mechanics from Dreadfang. Now, Dreadfang will also cast Savage Mauling and just jump onto someone and just continuously attack them. Just make sure you heal them. Now, Reckless Provocation is just you need to be what's it called? Making sure you get rid of it. Otherwise, it's just going to fear everyone that comes into contact with the boss. Now, the way you get rid of it is by purging it. So you need to make sure you have a hunter or a shaman is most likely to be in your team. So you want to make sure you're purging that immediately. Even a second of it being on can fear your tank, and if your tank gets feared, it's kind of it's a bit scuffed, because it's about 2 or 3 seconds of the tank just standing still while being feared. Now there's an Infiltrator over there. I just grab it so we get an extra stack. There is also a route though where you can just take the boss around all this upper right area, where you can just grab all those mobs and you can skip some of the mobs going towards the third boss, which is Oshir. That is the more advanced route, which I can show you guys later on if you guys would like. Again, leave it down in the comments, and I will do that for you, no problems. But yeah, right now we're going to kill the Infiltrator, and we're going to go and finish off the first boss. Now, this next part is very essential that it is done correctly. Now, you need to be very, very careful and make sure that you've got the tank pulling these mobs to make sure they're in line with the iron stars, and you make sure someone that is capable of doing the iron stars and hitting the mobs 100% with 100% accuracy is doing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump here. Unfortunately, our shaman has Earth Ellie up from the last boss fight, and the Earth Ellie taunts one of the Ogrins, which is not ideal, but we deal with it anyway. So I'm going to pull these two. Usually I'd have all three here. Now you want to make sure you're using a defensive there. Now, if you didn't see, they cast a flurry, which is going to do a shit ton of damage to the tank, so you need to make sure you have a defensive there. Otherwise, you will die 100%. So the Iron Star is going to get shot. All you have to do for the Iron Star is jump into it, and then you're going to click your one of your buttons on the bar. It's just the one button, and then it's going to send it in a direction. And you'll see the direction is just an arrow on the floor. Very easy to understand. Now what we're doing is we're killing literally everything in this area, or as much as possible. Now don't bother picking up any stray mobs if you end up not killing them, because it's just a waste of time. You can pick up % later. There's a lot of mobs later down the track. And it's just not worth it spending another minute or two trying to kill a few extra mobs. These guys don't give much %, but you do it anyway because they just get one shot from the Iron Star regardless, so just be very careful here. So I'm going to grab this next Ogre and make sure it's in line with this next pack. Our rogue is going to shoot this Iron Star very soon. He's just waiting for the back Ogre to pat in, as you can see. So it's going to roll in, and then it's going to hit the back one as well. Perfect. Now this is where you can do one of two things. Either you can shoot the the Iron Star down this right now, and you'll be fine. Or you can do what I'm about to do, which will save you a little bit of time, depending on how much DPS you have in your group. So I'm just going to run over here. Now you got to remember, if you're shooting the Iron Star, you need to curve it around these objects over here. If you don't, the Iron Star will stop here. So what I'm doing is I'm going all the way to the back right here, where these boxes are. And I'm going to grab all these mobs, including all of these mobs here that are padding around, and this guy. And I'm going to pull all of them in front of these objects here. So then the Iron Star that's coming along is going to ideally kill all of them, except for the Infiltrators, because there's two of them. The Iron Star will kill everything that is in this dungeon, except the Infiltrators and obviously bosses. So I'm going to run over here. Now usually people get a hunter to do it. You can use a hunter pet and get the pet to pull all of this and just bring it all the way back. That is perfectly fine as well. But if you want to grab this mob as well, or these mobs as well, you have to actually attack every single one of them. Whatever you don't hit ends up resetting. So you need to make sure you're using it there. If you don't, it kind of scuffs it a little bit. So I much prefer doing it myself as a tank, but you can do it as a hunter if you'd like. As you see, our healer gives me a heal and immediately gets aggro, so that's not ideal as well. Luckily, I have a Fell Devastation proc just at the last second so I don't die, because I don't have my proc at the moment. But I'm going to run in here, I'm going to grab these double Infiltrators. Both these deckhands don't actually get hit. I think they were just on the side, unfortunately, but we're killing Infiltrators anyway. You might as well have them in there, and we can just nuke them all down. Now that cleared so much % just by those 3 Iron Stars. You can dictate if that's actually going to save you time, but obviously the higher the key, the more time it's going to save, because the more time it's going to take on each pack. Obviously granted that your DPS, your overall DPS, and when your cooldowns are up. So this next part, we're going to be extra careful. You need to just have patience, because the last boss, Skulloc, is going to be shooting missiles in this entire area. This is the gauntlet of the dungeon. You just want to be safe. There is no point rushing. Just look at him. If he's not shooting it, just wait. Just be careful. As you can see, healer goes a little bit, gets a little bit, gung-ho. Ends up having to pop Ascendance in order to not die. Now I'm going to pull all these mobs. Now this part over here is a little bit toxic. Now you've got these abilities, these mobs that are going to just keep chucking these swirling discs on the ground. You need to make sure you're dodging all of them, which are the hammers, sorry. Just dodge the hammers and dodge the fire on the ground. That's pretty much all they do. Besides that, you just need to be very careful of just positioning. Don't peek out of the boxes, because if the last boss is shooting the missiles and you peek out of the box, you will die 100%. You can pull the Ogre here as well. Make sure tanks, every time it uses flurry, you're using a big defensive. Otherwise, you will get one shot. You can pull it here, or you can just wait and then jump next to the box where it was before. But yeah, this boss is literally just not this boss. Sorry, this mob is just a tank and spank. Just sit here, use a defensive for flurry, AoE heal when it does the stomp. Simple stuff. It has a lot of health, so definitely save cooldowns for this, for single target at least. Because you will be here for a while if you guys don't have cooldowns. And it is not fun staying here for about 2.5 minutes just to kill one mob, one fortified. This is probably the I don't know, most time-consuming mob in this entire place, because you can't pull it with anything else really. I mean, you can pull it with the mob the pack that we just did, but it's just a lot of it's a lot of extra damage if people are getting hit by the hammers and shit on the floor. So you're gonna jump over here. Just be careful again. Be safe. Be safe. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab these mobs and get a bit of aggro, and I'm immediately gonna go around here. So what that's gonna do is gonna start the RP of the boss that's coming up, and I'm just gonna run back to the corner again. So usually you get like the healer to do this, or you'd get someone else to do it. If you have a warlock portal, you can gate, a warlock gate, you can gate through the boxes over here, down the bottom left, and then into this area and run straight there. The boxes are actually kind of fake. I'm not sure up until this point if they've changed that, but from my experience, they're not really there. So you can gateway through that if you so want to. If you do want to, sorry. That's if you have a warlock and you're privileged enough to have one. Again, the same stuff here. It just does a chain drag, a blade storm, dodge the fire on the ground, dodge the frontal from the infiltrator, dodge the sleep puddle from the infiltrator. Very basic mechanics from this dungeon, as we've seen plenty of times beforehand. So now we're going to come up to the Grimrail Enforcers, which is going to be these 3 mobs. Now we've got the ranged mob here where you have to kick, and also does the Sanguine Sphere. Now this is the one that was really annoying back in the day, and also recently, until they not hotfixed it, but they nerfed it, where the shield is so big that you literally have to pump DPS into it to break it. And what happens if you break it is it'll heal all 3 of the bosses by a certain percentage of its health. Nowadays, you really can't break it unless you're actually targeting it. So that's all you really have to worry about. It'll always target the lowest health mob, lowest health boss with the Sanguine Sphere. So just make sure you're focusing on Duguru here, and then once it has Sanguine Sphere, just swap off to one of the others. So what Duguru is going to do is just do the Blood Bolt on the Sanguine Sphere. You're going to have this bomb coming along from Nisa, and then Nisa's going to just randomly gunshot people, and also place a bunch of traps on the floor. Now, if you stand in one of the traps, it's gonna spawn traps on a circle around a player. If you stand in one of the traps, it'll do a lot of damage to you, and it will stun you. I'm pretty sure I stand in one of them here, so I'll show you later. Now, you just saw Maycog do the Flaming Slash. It's just gonna focus on one. It's gonna focus in a position, and then after a second or two, it's just gonna do a massive AOE frontal. Just don't be in it. Very simple. And it's just gonna dash forward. Now, Ogre traps here, which is the one from Nisa. It's going to place the traps on the ground. As you can see, it's placed on the mage over here. So it's in a circle around it. If you stand in it, again, you get stunned, take a lot of damage. Don't do it. Very simple. The bomb's going to come in. You can kill the bomb before it goes off, and then it won't go off. So you just stand there. But that's obviously if you have enough AoE or you're targeting it. Now, Markog also does this frontal fire wave. Now, if you're close enough to the boss, it won't hit you because it starts out here. But if you're a little bit too far, or you're just not paying attention, it's just going to hit you and you're probably going to get one shot. You just want to be extra careful here. And that is pretty much the abilities. Now, we kill Duguru before it even does Sanguine Sphere, so this is not really the best VOD to show you the Sanguine Sphere, but just take my word for it. As long as you swap off and you don't hard focus Duguru when the Sanguine Sphere is there, just wait for it to despawn. It'll take about, I think, 8 to 10 seconds to get rid of it. And then just don't Just don't hit it. It's quite simple. So there is a lot going on, but you can just focus Dugru and then Nisa usually, and then Markog after. Because you just want to get rid of the random damage coming out. Markog doesn't do random damage, it's just purely tank damage and then dodgeable mechanics, you know? Avoidable mechanics, sorry. So we're going to kill that. Cool. And now we have the most annoying mob in the dungeon, the Thunder Lord Wrangler. This one had been heavily nerfed up until this point, because the throw would do so much damage and ignore the tank's armor, which was kind of dumb. And the Rending Cleave. Now, Rending Cleave, again, is a frontal. Don't be where the tank is. Very simple. The Rampaging Cleft Hoof as well will do a charge, and then focus on someone, charge them, and just do a small AoE around the person at the end. These traps on the ground as well by the Wrangler, it's just a slow trap, but also does damage over time if you're in it. So don't stand in it. And you also get a bleed from the Wrangler as well. There's a lot going on from the one mob. So Wranglers are definitely priority on every single pull here. So these two, it's very simple. You're gonna go into the next pack. Now there's 3 Wranglers here, but one of them is a infiltrator. So you just want to make sure you're focusing on the one Wrangler. So usually you'd focus target one of them, make sure the tank or whoever's the lead in your group just puts a skull on them and just nuke them down. You never want both of them to be up for too long, because it just starts getting a bit spicy with all the damage coming out. So again, infiltrator, very standard stuff. And then you've got this exact same mobs that we just did. We just got 2 Wranglers instead of 1, and then another Cleft Hoof. So just be careful here. Again, Rending Cleaves, make sure you're not putting the Rending Cleave on the DPS tanks, and make sure the DPS you're not standing on the tank, ever. Okay, so once we kill all these, for some reason the Cleft Hoof died first, so that was not the play. But again, like I said, it is we have a decent group, and it's the 17, so it's quite simple. That was a bit of an interesting Spirit Link totem there. I don't think I got anyone. Okay, so now we have the Iron Wing Flame Spitter as well. Now, the Flame Spitter literally just does fire. Just don't stand in the fire. The Lava Barrage will just put fire on the ground, and then it'll just do a Lava Blast as well, which will do fire in front of it too. So just, again, don't be in front of the mob, and just dodge the fire coming out of the mob when it randomly puts it on the ground. Those are the only 2 abilities it does. Very, very, very simple mob to deal with. And now you're gonna have this pull, which is pretty much all 3 of the mobs that we have just done. So again, dodge the fire from the flame spitter. Make sure you're not putting the Wranglers on the DPS, and make sure the DPS are focusing the Wranglers, and then making sure that you're getting out of the traps on the ground, and making sure that you're not stacked for the Cleft Hoof, because the Cleft Hoof does do the small AoE on the target. Wherever it's charging to. So just make sure you're relatively spread out for that. But yeah, this is pretty much just, avoid mechanics. Nothing too crazy or unavoidable, except for the Wranglers targeting people with the serrated spear and the throws. That's about it. But yeah, you see the damage is quite substantial, especially on this pack. On a higher fortified key, you almost always skip this pack, which is where the advanced route comes in, where you would pull a little bit more at the start and avoid all the really toxic mobs, and just take it a little bit slower than I did. We had some pretty spicy pulls at the start, and they weren't supposed to be that spicy. Now at this point, you're at 99.8%. If you're at 99%, between 99% to 100%, you just ignore these packs. Just wait for them to go to one side and then run to the other side, or have a rogue just shroud you through. I just pulled this anyway because we're so fine on time. I want another infiltrator to get a little bit more stacks so the bosses are just even that much easier. But there is an infiltrator on the boat where the last boss is, so you can just pull that into the last boss, and that would be an equal of 1%. So if you're from 99 to 100, just skip this, do the one infiltrator. If you're less than that, do these, then do the infiltrator. If you're more than that, just don't worry about either of them unless you want the buff. That's up to you as a group. Here, I just pull them anyway. I'm just like, who cares? Let's just do it. And then here you've got pretty much the same mobs, right? You've got Rokra, which we had at the beginning. the Siege Master, which you have at the beginning, which is tank damage, and then you got the Battle Master, which is the Chain Drag, which drags the people into a Blade Storm straight away. That is pretty much all it does. And then you've got the the throw weapon, which is the whirlwind on the ground you see in the back there. Okay. Now it is a bit of a toxic week. It's a good week, but it's a bit of a shit week in terms of, you know, for melee, because storming is just really annoying, especially when you're trying to get into a bunch of mobs, and when there's a lot of packs there's a lot of storming going on, and one bad storming can really be really bad for you. Now here we are with Oshir. It's gonna do that ability, which is just rending cleave. It's just not rending cleave, sorry. It's just gonna focus and then stare in a line, and it's just going to do that swipe in a line. Now periodically it's going to summon these mobs and open a cage. Now the Ravenous Wolves cannot be tanked. They're just going to follow and target random players. So the best option here is just a Chains AoE stun, or Binding Shot, or Ring of Peace, anything like that, right? Ursol's Vortex, just make sure they're away. Melee need to be especially careful, because if too many of them are targeting you and you're in melee range, you will get one shot. You're just gonna be very, very careful. Use a defensive if you see them on you with your aggro table, and just go away. Just leave. Wait for them to get stunned and come back in. Be max melee range. Just try not to die. Now it's gonna randomly do this again. You're just gonna make sure you dodge it, and it's gonna jump onto someone. Now you still can use abilities when you get jumped on. Now the main thing here is you can immune it. For hunters, you can immediately feign death it. Unfortunately, this one does not, but you can immediately feign death it, or you can make sure you deal 5% of the boss's health, and then the boss will be, the person that is being attacked by the boss will be freed from its clutches. Now, it's going to summon another mob, which is going to be a spitter mob, which is a wyvern. Now, with this one, now right here, where we're pulling it, I'm being a bit too close here. You usually want pretty much any type of CC can CC the flame, the spitter that's coming out, and you don't want to deal with it, because it's just, there's no point dealing with it. It does an ability where it'll do a massive AoE damage if it goes off, and you're just gonna have to focus, target, and interrupt it. You literally just CC it with anything, but just make sure you keep it CC, right? But you want to pull the boss away so it doesn't get cleaved. Here though, I'm trying to pull the boss away, but I get told that we're just gonna deal with it anyway, because the boss is almost dead. You might as well just kill it with it. I just silent sigil it, and then we don't even have to worry about it. So we are done with that one. That's a pretty easy boss. Probably one of the easiest bosses in here, to be honest. And now we're going to the last boss, which is Skulloc. Now this boss is quite difficult sometimes if things don't go your way. Now, you're going to have one guy in the cannon, you're going to have Koromar over here, and then Skulloc here. You're always going to do the adds over the boss. Now, as you can see, the guy in the cannon is going to target someone. Right now, it's targeting our healer. Now, you want to make sure that no one is in the line of where you're getting targeted, and no one is around you, because it's going to do some damage to it. It's pretty much unavoidable if it's targeting you, but it is avoidable for everyone else. So you want to make sure you're out of the way and no one else is anywhere near you or in between you. Now, Koromar is going to just jump to some people. You want to make sure, again, you're focusing on this. As you can see, it's targeting our hunter, but our hunter's where our rogue is as well, and they both just had a bit of splash damage here. Again, it's fortified. It's not going to do that much, but it's still avoidable damage that you guys need to learn to be able to stop, because it is going to get a little bit spicy. Now, from here, I just realized during the dungeon that I actually completely negated this mechanic because of a storming timing, where it got me in with storming while Skulloc was sending me over, so I could actually be next to the boss and stay there. The problem is the boss didn't stop doing cannon barrage when it should, as long as someone is within range. So that kind of bugged out, I think. I think Blizzard didn't intend for that to happen. It's a very specific interaction between affixes, and it only happens with storming. So yeah, I don't think they intended that for it to happen. But the next time we get knocked back, I'll show you what you can do. Now again, The first time it does the Cannon Barrage, you can't stop it. You want to try and stop it during its second cast of Cannon Barrage, where you can have someone that is really, really fast, get to the boss on the second one, or you can have someone immune it and go there. Now be careful, when you get to the boss, it immediately loses aggro on its current target, which should be the tank, and will specifically target the nearest person, which in this case can be whoever goes near it. So you need to make sure you pop a defensive or an immunity. Now, for instance, with us, if I have the Hunter do it, the Hunter will pop Turtle. If I have the Rogue do it, the Rogue will pop Evasion. So then it can tank it for a little bit until I get there, or I'm just going to double jump over. Now, at this point, that's what I do. I just jump over. I make sure I'm in range. It's going to go on me. You immediately taunt it again, because it's going to be targeting, like I said, the closest target. And we're going to pop out the cooldowns, make sure we kill Skulloc, finish it off, and that will be the key. Now, Iron Docks, again, like I said, the whole of Iron Docks is quite okay. There's only those two mobs that are a little bit shit to deal with, which are the spear throwers that are after the third boss moving up, after the second boss moving up to the third boss, and then also the foot soldiers at the beginning of the instance with the bleed. You just want to make sure they are priority targeted ASAP. Those are the ones that will wipe your group so quickly, and the key will just deplete straight away. So you want to be extra careful with that. But that is pretty much it. We're done with Season 4's guides. I had a fucking great time doing all these guides, and just helping as many people out as possible. And I really appreciate the comments from you guys. The support has been amazing, and I hope I can do this for a very long time to come. And again, if you like the video, please subscribe, comment, like the video, and go check out the other ones. I've got all the guides up, all of the Season 4 guides. If you want a refresher for Gambit and for Streets, more to do with this season, because I did them last season, let me know in the comments below, and let me know what other videos you would like to see. The next video idea that I do have, which I was told by a viewer, is to do all 3 of the Opera bosses in Lower Karazhan, and to go through them all in the one video, because right now the Lower Karazhan video I have out only shows one of them. But yeah, that will be in the next video, but let me know what you want later on as well. And I appreciate you all, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Peace out, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.